So, you and your team are ready to write songs for your congregation, but you don't know how. Let's talk about that. Welcome, everybody, to yet another episode of another Worship Leader podcast. I'm Skylar Hoagland. That's Daniel Prasley. Daniel, how are you?
I am good. How are you doing?
I'm doing fine. Thank you very much.
That is stellar. Oh, sorry.
And today we're talking about songwriting 101. How do you write songs, especially for a worship setting? How do you write Christian songs? How do you write songs about God?
You just do it.
It's not that easy, Daniel. We can't just write stuff down on a piece of paper that's from the Bible onto a piece of paper and expect people to sing it, can we?
Maybe not.
In all seriousness, let's talk about how we come up with ideas to write songs. First of all, what is a song?
A psalm. Because when we look in the book of Psalms, that's what David wrote, is songs of, as we talked about previously, pain. He led worship through pain. He wrote out of pain. Praise,
Psalms
and
88.
Adoration.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so those are some just immediate thoughts that come to mind.
Psalms 88 is probably my favorite Psalms because you can just tell that he is in a terrible, terrible mindset.
Yeah.
And he's very transparent with what he's talking about. He's like, Lord, why have you forsaken me? He's feeling lonely, like God abandoned him in his time of need. And that makes the best songs, in my opinion, is transparency, honesty, and I mean, if someone from 2,000 plus years ago can write something and I look at it today in the year 2024 and I still feel that's a good song. Mm-hmm. And I don't even want to call it a song. It's a psalm, but it's more so in the style of poetry, how David writes. Nothing rhymes or anything. Not that a song has to rhyme, but it's more so in the form of poetry, just accompanied by music. So more so spoken word, if you think about it. But let's back up for a second. So what is a song? A song, so I teach songwriting 101 at our School of Worship here in Rockfish Church. And my definition of a song is a piece of yourself, whether emotionally or whatever. You're putting a piece of yourself on a piece of paper. You're taking your thoughts and capturing them in the physical world. You are taking your emotions and you are manifesting it into the actual physical world. And whatever you write down on that piece of paper is now part of you. Mm-hmm. Okay? So that's just a definition of what a song is. Now, how do you come up with the idea of a song? How do you come up with a theme of a song? For example, if you guys don't know, we wrote a couple songs here. Daniel, you wrote a song called Revival Come Down, which is a banger, by the way. Don't know if it's out by the time this podcast comes out, but man, it is so good. In fact, it's going to be the title the title song. Is that what we say?
Sort of the title track for
title track.
The EP. We're going to take a lyric from the song and make that. Yeah.
But it's going to be the best song on the album, and I'm very jealous that he wrote it. But I'm curious. How did you come up with the idea of Revival Come Down?
Yeah, so I want to kind of compare this song and the other song that I wrote, True God, which will be our first single from our upcoming EP. Mm-hmm. The first song, True God, honestly, it took us about 4 weeks to write. I wrote it with two of our team members, Heather Morgan and Khadijah Wilcox. Shout out to you guys. It took us about 4 weeks to write. Now I had a chord progression because my strong suit is writing the music. So we had the chord progression, we had some melodies. It took about 4 weeks to write. Now, when we were about to finish up that song, I was like, hey, I have this one chord progression. It's kind of like a main riff. Let's take a break from this one for a little bit. And we write a song based around the concept of For Such a Time as This. And we started writing, and the song came together in about 15, 20 minutes. And we finished it off the next week, and all we did is we just took a piece of the first verse and used it as our second verse, and that completed the song. And so I say all that to say, some songs are, they're going to take some time. And then other songs, they'll come together very quickly.
Now, where did you come up with the concept of Revival Come Down? Because what is the chorus?
Yeah. So, it talks about, lifting our hearts up high. God, please hear our cry. We need your grace. We seek your face for such a time as this. And long story short, got the concept from Michael W. Smith, longtime artist in the Christian music industry. And I read a story around the summertime of 2001. He was awoken during the night, and he felt the Lord was telling him for such a time as this. But he didn't understand what that meant. And he just kept feeling this tug, and then he felt on his heart the Lord was telling him that he needed to do a worship album. And he kind of wrestled with it because, Lord, I'm a pop artist. What am I going to do? But he just kept feeling the tug and the tug and the tug. And so he finally just said, okay, Lord, I'm going to do it. And so he got with some of the top artists who were big in the Christian genre at around 2001, threw them in a choir, went to like this big, I don't remember if it was an arena or a church. I think it was a church. Played all the hits that were big at the time. Open the Eyes of My Heart, Forever,
Everlasting
Draw Me
God.
Close. Yeah, it was like a bunch of the bangers at that time. He had his hit Above All.
Amazing Love.
Yeah, stuff like that. And recorded the album. He said it was an incredible time of worship. I saw a picture behind stage, and before they hit the stage, they were all together in a circle, and they were all on their knees in a time of worship already before getting out there. And so they did it. It was a very successful night, great recording night. And then suddenly it all made sense to him when the album released Tuesday, September 11th, 2001.
That rings a bell.
And when he saw what was happening, he immediately knew why the Lord was telling him that in the months back then. And when I read that story, I was like, oh my gosh. Because here's the thing. That album raised me when I was like 4. So we're talking circa 2006, 2005, 7. That was one of my favorite albums when I was little. And so hearing that story, I was like, wow. And then I'm thinking about what we see, now in 2024, we have such a divided country. We see war in Ukraine. We see war on the horizon in the Middle East and Asia and other disasters, political turmoil. And I'm like, if there's a time that we need the Lord, it's right now. So, and who knows what's going to happen in the future.
Yeah. So all that to say, if you were to dumb that paragraph, that book that you just said down, you were inspired.
Yeah.
You found inspiration from someone else. Mm-hmm. And that's super important when you're writing a song, is to be inspired, first of all. Yep. Not necessarily inspired by who's the guy that you were talking about?
Michael W. Smith.
You don't have to necessarily be inspired by Michael W. Smith or Brandon Lake or Chris Tomlin. You can be inspired by something that's going on in your life. But that's a great example. There's been times where I wrote songs based on what someone else had written. So I guess in a way that I was inspired by this person. But some of the best songs also, you can be inspired by something that's going on in your life.
Yep.
Like we said in the previous podcast, sometimes we go through pain and suffering and turmoil in our lives. Those become the best songs, in my opinion, man, because it's transparent and it's easy to write. In fact, sometimes you have too much to write about, which is kind of red flaggy if you got a lot of turmoil to write about. But sometimes you can use that to make someone else feel really good. Because when you write about turmoil or pain, someone else can listen to it and possibly find a little bit of healing knowing that there's someone else that feels the same way that they do.
Yeah.
So relatability is very important, but also it doesn't have to be just pain. It could be happiness. Shout to the Lord, all the earth. I got a reason to pray. Yeah. There's tons of things that you can write about, but the most important thing is you don't want to write a song that you have no attachment to.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? Like, if I'm naturally a happy person, and I'm trying to force myself to write a downbeat song like Psalms 88 style, it's not going to be as good as it could. The song is not going to be as good as it could be as a happy song, because I'm happy. I'm obviously going to find joy in writing a happy song. If I'm sad, I'm going to find it easier to write sad lyrics, and vice versa, and all that stuff. So. Just write whatever feels inspiring to you in that moment. Like you said, you felt like now we need God in this time of our lives more than ever in the world. And that's what inspired you to write Revival Come Down. And I think that that's brilliant because it was on your heart. It wasn't just Daniel that wrote that song. It was actually Daniel, Heather, and Dee that wrote that song. Khadijah, sorry, her nickname's Dee. That's what we call her. Shout out to y'all, man. And so it's really important that you just find natural inspiration for sure. Let's go a little bit deeper because I kind of want to touch on this a little bit. There might be people that are watching this that have no idea where to start. And what I mean by that is they might not even understand how songs work. What does a verse do? What does a chorus do? What does a bridge do? Can you tell me what a chorus does?
Yeah, so a chorus, and you and I have kind of talked about it, and you said it in a really good way. And correct me if I'm wrong, is the chorus is the point of your song. This is what I'm trying to say. And it's kind of a little bit your hook, but like you said, it drives the point home. It drives the theme of the song, and it summarizes.
Absolutely. So if the verse comes before the chorus, what is the verse supposed to be doing?
I look at the verse as like not just the build-up, but as explaining the point. Or verse could be like, okay, I'm starting here, like we see a lot in worship or Christian songs, like, all right, I was here, or all of this over here really sucked. You do the chorus, and then the second verse, you say, all right, while things were really starting to suck, the Lord came in and he turned it around. And that's kind of like a Christian.
I don't know if we can say suck on the podcast. Are we allowed to say suck as Christians?
When things are bad.
Things can get a little sucky when they're bad.
Skylar.
Brian just said,
Canceled.
No, so how I look at a verse is basically like what you said. It's leading up, and yes, the chorus is your main point. That is the main course of the song. But you need an appetizer. You need an appetizer before you hit the main course. How I think the verse goes is it's sort of like, have you ever heard the term beating the bush or beating around the bush? Like you have a main point to make, but you're not necessarily hitting it. You're kind of like,
dancing
around, and you're kind of giving these little tiny details. Like you want to tell someone how your day was, but first you gotta, say, how was your day? Oh, did anything, okay. Yeah. Did anything crazy happen? So you're giving little tiny details leading up to the main point. And that's when you beat the bush. You get that bird out of there. It flies away. A verse, beat around the bush. The chorus, you hit that bush. Now here's the hard part. Can you tell me what a bridge does?
So I look at the bridge as kind of driving so now that we understand the point, let's really drive it home.
Yeah.
And so like, how was your day? Okay, you kind of dance around it, and then you hit the bush. And then you say, And all of that is to say that it really sucked. No.
Mackenzie, I don't know if she's watching this. Mackenzie in my songwriting class, she made a really good point. A bridge is sort of like it's sort of like the PS at the bottom of a note. It's sort of like oh, by the way, here's a little more information. So the verse could be like, just me spitballing right now, is I could say, I'm having a rough time. My soul needs to be, healed. I'm going through this. I'm going through that. The chorus, the main point could be, God, you're so good that you can heal anything. You're bigger than my mountains. You're bigger than my valleys. You are who you say you are. You're faithful. I just have to put my trust in you. Something like that. Yeah. That's your main point. Now, the bridge to that would be something on the lines of, so this is how I'm going to do it. I'm going to pray. I'm going to trust. I'm going to trust in your word. I'm going to, do A, B, C, D, E, so I can remain faithful to you. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And also, sometimes you're going to write a pre-chorus. A pre-chorus is sort of like a teaser to the chorus. It kind of builds a little bit. It builds anticipation to the chorus itself. For example,
and all of this is to say this.
Yes. For example, as long as I'm breathing, I got a reason to chorus pray. So how do you write a song that's good for your congregation? How do you know what song to introduce to your congregation?
So, right off the bat, this goes back to our first run of podcasts where we talked about set lists. And you have to know your congregation. What kind of song gets them rocking? Like, probably if we wrote a rockin' song, a country song, or a country rock song, then any of our locations is going to be like, yeah, let's go.
Yeah, you can't go wrong with the fast songs.
Exactly. And it's one of those things where you and I have talked about it recently that we're still figuring out, what's going to be our process. One thing that I read in a book from Worship Online, shout out to you guys. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Is a free book, and they interviewed one of the members from Vertical Worship, and they said what they like to do is they will, and a lot of worship teams do this, they will test run a song to the congregation for feedback.
Before recording it?
Before recording, yes. Nice. After they write it, they throw the scratch crack. The scratch track.
There we go.
And put it together and play it to the congregation to get that feedback, see how it goes. And even if it's a song they are going to play, a lot of teams, they tend to do a live recording. So they'll play these songs so the congregation gets to know the song, so when recording night comes, they know the song. And so those are some aspects of when it comes to, preparing a song and bringing a song to the congregation. And one of the things that I thought about, don't be afraid to get out of the box. Like we kind of touched on it before we started filming, and this goes back to the inspiration part where you look at Rattle by Elevation. I think of this song a lot. The first time I heard that song, I was like, whoa, what did they just do?
This is revolutionary.
Like, it was so different. It was so out of the box. You look at Holy Water by We the Kingdom. That was another song that really shaped the industry. Is they went for the country, the real bluegrass, gritty sound, Zach Williams with Chainbreaker. And so I say all of that is it's okay to be inspired by those people as well, because for me, that's what made me think, okay, it's okay to kind of get out of the box. It's okay to take risks. You can keep it simple. Like, worship music is simple these days. You got to keep it simple for other worship teams to play and for other congregations to sing. However, you can still get creative and think outside the box.
That's good. Two final things I want to wrap this up with is there's two important things to do when you are writing a song, which is, number one, you really, well, it's kind of like three things, but it kind of wraps up into two. Number one, you want to make sure that what you're singing and what you're writing is biblically correct.
Obviously.
Man, there's been so many times when I just hear songs on the radio, and not to call anyone out, but I'm like, that doesn't add up. God's love isn't reckless. Sorry, Corey. Sorry.
I'll still play the song. Don't worry.
We both will. Every church will. But you want to make sure, I'm sure he realizes that now, but I'm sure when he was writing it, he was like, oh yeah, this is awesome. This is amazing. Mr. Corey Raspberry, he's writing down, he's like, yeah, this is awesome. And then, the song is great itself, but it doesn't add up. So people are going to call him out for that. And Bethel has done it too. Elevation's done it too. But, if you want to save yourself the trouble and the hassle, just make sure that it's biblically correct. There's nothing wrong with taking a verse literally straight out of the Bible and putting it on paper. In fact, sometimes that makes the best songs. Chris Tomlin does it all the time. You can literally take a simple psalm. You can take a whole psalm and put music to it and sing it, and that's a song. Luckily the Bible isn't copywritten. Thank you, Jesus. Public domain, baby. And the second thing is, you want to make sure that it's easy for your congregation to sing. You want to make sure, and on top of that, this is the third thing, you want to make sure that it's easy for your congregation to sing, but also you do want other people to play this song. You want to make sure that other churches are able to play it. Now, if you're a church like, for example, Elevation or Bethel or Upper Room, where they have paid musicians on staff, more than likely is, for example, our church, we use volunteers. People aren't going to have time to sit down and learn a song, especially if it's so difficult. Like if it has different time signatures, if the key changes all the time, and you got different chords going on in every single thing. You see, there's a reason that Chris Tomlin is so popular, is because everyone can play his songs. 4 chords, man, back to back, back to back, back to back. You want to make sure that the lyrics are easy, okay, not too wordy. Not too wordy. I cannot express that enough. Do not make your song so wordy that people have to literally just pay attention to the monitor the entire time. You want it to be easy, simple.
I'm going to say it.
Say it.
So Will I, by Hillsong United. Now,
you touching you
hear me out. Hear me out. I love that song. And I know you love that song.
Love that song.
It is a great song, and I know a lot of churches played it. But in the past, what kind of made us shy away from playing it is because it is so many words. So many words, and also the music itself is technological. It's technical. It's very dynamic.
Yeah.
Extremely dynamic. Like, it kind of goes up. You got to know when to come up and then to come back down, come back up, come back down. The choruses are different every single time. You look at King of Kings. Those are some pretty wordy verses. I mean, we all know the chorus. It's a very simple chorus, and I would say it's a much easier song than So Will I. But we always make the joke, if that confidence monitor goes out during King of Kings,
dude, we're
it's all over.
Yeah. If you want to make it easy on congregation, your worship team, and yourself, write simple songs. Okay. Kiss. Keep it simple, stupid.
Yep. Did you just call our viewers stupid?
No, I did not.
That's good.
Any final thoughts, Mr. Presley?
Keep it simple. Like you said, honestly, I think that's a really good way to end it. Don't be afraid to be inspired. Don't be afraid to step out of the box. Yeah, keep it simple.
You don't have to have a Dream Theater worthy song. Okay. It doesn't have to be technical or crazy for it to be a hit. Again, the reason Chris Tomlin is so popular is because it's so simple that other people can play his songs and other churches can play his songs. It really is just a great thing when you keep it so simple. I can really appreciate a good song that has the same 4 chords over and over again. For example, Waymaker. There's a reason that song is such a banger. It's because everyone's playing it, and everyone can you pretty much know how the song's going to go after the first verse and in the first chorus. I'm sure that we're missing a ton of things that are on our talking points, but we got to wrap it up because we're almost at 30 minutes.
Oh my goodness. I was about to say, how much over did we go?
27.
This probably should have been a two-parter because we could have kept going.
Guys, thank you for joining us for another Worship Leader podcast. We hope that you have a great rest of your day. If this is on Apple Music or YouTube, wherever you're watching this, maybe even Facebook, share it with somebody. Let's all grow together because we don't want to maintain. We want to grow. Amen.
Amen. That's good.
We'll see you guys later. God bless you. So what was that you said about hot dog water?
Hot dog water. Yeah, so sometimes it just feels like hot dog water. Let's talk about it.
Let's talk about it.